I watched the 2023 live-action remake of Disney's Little Mermaid. It wasn't perfect, of course, but I enjoyed it. I'm going to give general thoughts before discussing spoiler content, so be warned if that's important to you. From an artistic perspective, I have generally been against the idea of these remakes because they seem pointless. A major theme throughout many of them is quote-unquote fixing plot holes and issues with the animated versions, which is a pointless endeavor to me. The originals still exist as they are, and adding or changing something the remakes doesn't change that. When it comes to 2023's Little Mermaid though, there definitely were changes made, but they don't feel like calls back to the animated film. This movie stands on its own in ways that the others don't, in my opinion. Of course, if you've been following me here or on TikTok, you already know my opinion about one particular crab and his absolutely terrible Caribbean accent.
She got legs! You idiot!
It's amazing that Disney managed to hire an American to put on a Caribbean accent not once, but twice. As a Jamaican, David Diggs' Sebastian grates my ears as much as Samuel E. Wright's does. Would it really be so hard to get a real Caribbean person to voice his character? Makes me think the racists who are complaining about how woke Disney is becoming are wrong. If they really cared about representation, they would have given Sebastian a Caribbean voice actor. Honestly, I would have preferred if Diggs had just spoken with his natural accent. Anyway, to balance this Sebastian discussion with something positive, they made a good choice when it comes to his swimming. The animated Sebastian swims with his claws, but this Sebastian swims with his legs, which is certainly more realistic for a crab. However, people have been saying that the crab they base Sebastian on is the tropical ghost crab, and I do see the resemblance. Unfortunately, these crabs are semi-terrestrial. While they do have gills, they can't stay underwater for too long, or they will drown. So that was a little oversight on the producer's part, I guess. As for Ariel herself, Halle Bailey does a good but not great job. Her singing is perfectly on point, but I had a hard time believing her acting sometimes. Since Ariel spends a good chunk of the movie without her voice, any portrayal of her has to be extremely expressive, which Bailey didn't always follow through on. The last thing I'll say before moving into spoilers is that I found Merpeople genetics interesting. All the daughters of Triton look very different, even though they apparently have the same mother and father. I have to wonder if it was just colorblind casting or a deliberate decision. After all, who's to say that merpeople follow the same rules of genetics as humans? And here is where we get into spoilers. Unfortunately, the movie rushes through the setup. The first scenes with Ariel, introducing her to us, letting us know who she is, are very rushed. In fact, I'd say it stays rushed up until she gets legs. We don't get much of a chance to breathe. One positive change though is that we get more of a sense of who Eric is than in the animated film. He is a collector, an explorer, much like Ariel herself. He is kind and saves a dolphin from his shipmates early in the movie when they mistake it for a mermaid. It's easy to see why Ariel and Eric fall for each other in this movie. And then there's Ursula. I think Melissa McCarthy's performance might have been the best in the entire film. She could have had better dialogue to work with, but she used what she got very well. One interesting choice they made though was to use a scrapped idea from the first film, making Ursula the sister of Triton. It makes her seem even more evil, because it means she willingly did all this terrible stuff to not only her brother, but to her niece. Again, merpeople genetics comes up though. Why does Ursula have tentacles and not fins? I'd have liked to understand that. Anyway, a clever addition is that Ursula adds a sneaky spell to the one that she casts on Ariel to make her human. Ariel can't remember that she needs to kiss Eric to remain human, no matter how often she is reminded. Ursula, you evil witch. Despite this, Ariel feels a lot more proactive on land than she does in the animated movie. She finds a way to tell Eric her name, even though she doesn't have a voice. I believe they're growing feelings, which is hard to accomplish with only Eric speaking. For me, the most interesting change though, is that it is Ariel who defeats Ursula in the end. Thematically it makes sense. As I said, this Ariel is a lot more proactive than the animated version. She gets onto a sunken ship that Kaiju Ursula inadvertently pulls to the surface and steers it so that it stabs Ursula. In a sense though, it makes no sense. How does Ariel know how to steer a ship? They never show her learning this in the movie. Despite my mixed comments up until now though, the ending got me by the heartstrings. Disney's The Little Mermaid, even the 1989 version, was never just about a girl chasing after a boy she just met. It was about a girl who had dreams that her father shut down, pushing her away.
This obsession with humans has to stop.
I just want to know more about them.
The 2023 film understands that and leans into it, unlike too many of the other live-action remakes. So, is it worth the 2,100 Jamaican dollars I spent to watch it? Probably not. But I did enjoy it. The songs were good, the ending almost made this old man cry. It was what a remake should be. It actually stands on its own, and I think that's better than most of the previous remakes. Thanks for watching. I've been Ken Kwame, and I'll see you next time.
Someday I'll be